Hello, Paul here from RoJoBe Music. Once again at home, not at the shop, because of the current COVID lockdown restrictions here in Thailand. So, as you can see by what I'm surrounded by, today I'm talking to you about ukuleles. Moreover, the four main sizes available and the differences between them. So, from your left to right, we have soprano, concert, tenor and baritone, and they are all quite different for various reasons. Okay, so let's start with the soprano, the smallest of the mainstream ukuleles, if you like, and perhaps the most well known, the most common, maybe not, in different parts of the world, maybe not so much, but the ukulele has become very, very popular in recent years, and one of the things that made the ukulele, or one of the people that made the ukulele famous, was the late great Hawaiian singer-songwriter Israel Kamaka Viva Ole, or Brother Is, as he was known to his family, friends and fans. Absolutely fantastic singer and fantastic uk player. And he is perhaps well known for his rendition of the song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," obviously originally sung by Judy Garland in the 1939 film Wizard of Oz. But arguably, some people say that Izzy's version of the song was perhaps the best ever recorded. I have to agree, to be honest. If you've never heard it, please Google "Is Somewhere Over the Rainbow." Is IZ Somewhere Over the Rainbow. You will not be disappointed. And he predominantly played the soprano. Now, unfortunately, he died in 1997 at the age of 38 from complications due to obesity. At his peak, for the want of a better word, he was reported to have been 750 pounds in weight, or 53.5 stone, 340 kilograms for those of you in metric land. Now, the only reason I'm mentioning that is that obviously he was a very big man, and he played the soprano, and he played it brilliantly, and he was very comfortable playing the soprano. If you see any videos of him playing it, it looks like a toy in his huge hands. But one of the best ukulele players arguably to have ever lived, in my opinion. And so he played the soprano. Now, it is one of the most common and common sizes, and what the ukulele is basically known for. Now, this one is a very cheap one. Look at the brand name, Burke's, beautiful name. It's a very, very cheap ukulele. But it's one that I use to teach my students for the beginner courses of ukulele, and you'll see that it's got the sticker markers on there for the beginning chords that you will almost always learn on an ukulele. So this helps my students to visualize where they place their fingers for certain chords. Usually, if the student buys a ukulele from me, if they buy a ukulele course, I'll sell them a ukulele at half price, or sometimes even less. And I'll quite often put these dots on there for them to help them to practice. Excuse me. So the ukulele is tuned G, C, E, A, and the fourth string is a high G. So this is fairly unique in stringed instruments. Normally, like guitars or mandolins or most other stringed instruments, the lowest string is here. But this is a high G, G, C, E, A. And that's the most common tuning for ukuleles, although there are others. And I'll explain some of that shortly. So that's the soprano. Not my particular favourite size, a little bit small for me. I've got quite big hands and long arms. I don't find it that comfortable to play. For me, the concert is much better, and this is my concert. And this one is Snail brand, not high end, but quite good. And this is a very pretty looking ukulele. Love the patterning on this. This was actually for sale in my shop. This was some of my stock, but I loved it so much I nabbed it for myself, and I don't care. But it really is a very pretty uke, and for me, more comfortable to play than a soprano. And this again tuned G, C, E, A. So that's a little bit deeper than the sound of the soprano. Sorry. So for me, a sweeter sound, I prefer the sound of the concert against the soprano. That's my preference. So again, this is another one that I use to teach my students. Some of the slightly more advanced, this one doesn't have the marker dots on there. By the time that students have had half a dozen or so lessons, they don't need this visual aid quite so much. And I find this one easier and more comfortable and nicer to play. And you know, for the more advanced students, they want to hear something a bit sweeter, and this is it. So the concert size used to be my favourite size of ukulele until I got a tenor. This is my tenor. So again, a bit bigger. Oh, one thing I should mention, the overall length of a soprano ukulele is 21 inches, usually, there or thereabouts, 21 inches. The concert is 23 inches. Sometimes there are slight variations, but they're usually around 23 inches. The tenor measures in at 26 inches. Okay, so soprano 21, concert 23, tenor 26. And obviously the scale length increases for the size of each ukulele as well. Now this is my personal preference for playing for myself. Now I've got this tuned with a low G. So it's exactly the same tuning as the other ukuleles, but the G is an octave lower. So it's still the same tuning. So you can still play the same songs and tunes. It just gives you a different sound. So the high G against the low G. And that's my personal preference. Not everybody likes the idea of the low G. They say it's not traditional, but I disagree, because it's still the same tuning, G, C, E, A, albeit the G is an octave lower, and I personally prefer that sound. I think it makes it a little more versatile in the tunes that you can play and how you play them. So that's my favourite. This one is not particularly pretty. It's got quite a nice wood pattern, actually very nice, but there's no binding on the body or the neck or the headstock, so it's very plain, but it's a good brand, it's good quality, and it is my personal favourite from my collection. Okay, so that's the tenor, which now brings us on to the baritone. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, just had to shut the door, the dogs were coming in. So, bringing us on to the baritone, which is the biggest of these four. So this measures at 30 inches, there or thereabouts. Now, the baritone is quite different to the other ukuleles. This is not tuned G, C, E, A. This is tuned D, G, B, E. Completely different. It's actually the first 4 strings of the guitar, or the same tuning as the first 4 strings of a guitar. So it's a very, very different sound, much deeper than the ukulele, the other size ukuleles. Now, what is interesting is, I'll just show you first of all on the concert ukulele. So I'll just do a very simple chord progression using C, A minor, F, G7 and back to C. So if you listen very carefully to this and watch my fingering of the chords as well. Okay, so that was the chords C, A minor, F, G7, then back to C. Now if I use exactly the same chord shapes and finger positioning on the baritone, you still get the same tune, albeit in a different key. Okay, so you can... People think that the baritone ukulele is not an ukulele, it's like 2/3 of a guitar. And tuning wise, yeah, effectively it is, but it is still an ukulele. And you can still play the same tunes using the same chord patterns as you do on the other sizes of ukulele. The only difference is you'll be playing it in a lower key. So there it is, that's the 4 sizes of ukulele: your soprano, concert, tenor and baritone. So the baritone is quite a different instrument, but it's the same instrument. It's quite unique in that although it's a different tuning, you can still play the same tunes with the same chord patterns. They will be different chords, but they'll be the same chord patterns. So you can play the same tunes on either of this smaller ones or the baritone. So it comes down to personal preference. What size do you prefer? What sound do you prefer? The soprano, as I said, which is the most well known, has the very typical ukulele sound that everybody knows and loves and falls in love with if that's what they like. The concert and the tenor, usually the same tuning, just a deeper, fuller sound. Not deeper as such, but a deeper tone. So what do you prefer? What size do you prefer? What sound or tone do you prefer? For me, I have to say these 2 are my favourites, just because of the deeper sound and the larger size. And it's not to say that I don't like these 2. I do. I love them. I mean, the concert I love as well, because it's a nice, easy size to play. It's great for teaching students. But you know, it's all down to personal preference. So if you're thinking of learning to play the ukulele, if you haven't played before, and you want to buy one, and sorry, my light's just gone. I would recommend, if you can, get to your local music shop where they stock ukuleles, and try the different. You know, try to go to a store where they've got different sizes, different brands, and you know, as many as possible, and try them. See what fits you. First of all, for size, and then try a few in the size that you prefer to find the tone, the sound that you're looking for, because there are so many different ones available. You know, the 4 sizes, and there are many different brands, and even some of the cheaper brands, like this baritone, for example, is a brand called Kamai's. Now, these are quite a cheap brand, but they're very good. I have had many Kamai's ukuleles, and I've sold many of them, and I've never had a customer come back with any complaints of the Kamai's ukuleles. They're quite a cheap brand, but they're very good quality for their price bracket, in my opinion. Not everybody likes them, they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I would highly recommend them for beginners. They're very affordable. They're usually pretty playable straight out of the box. Some of them may need some light adjustment at the nut or the saddle for intonation. If they come with a truss rod fitted, some of them do, that might need a slight adjustment for the levelness, if you like, of the neck, that you bow backwards or bow forwards or dead straight. And obviously, if you don't know anything about that type of thing, usually if you go to a decent music store where you buy one, they'll more often than not they'll set it up for you. Not all of them will, but most of the better ones, shall we say, will set it up for you. Intonation and action and neck alignment. But as I said, Kamai's straight out of the box are usually pretty good, fairly playable. But if you've got a bigger budget, go for something a bit higher end. But I wouldn't recommend getting something ridiculously expensive right at the beginning, because if for whatever reason you don't take to ukulele, or it doesn't take to you, you've wasted a fair bit of money. So and there are many different brands available. So if you're going to start ukulele, I recommend get to your local music store, preferably a good one, where they have a good selection of them, and try a few, see what you like. And it's a great journey, because it's quite an easy instrument to learn to play. As I've said, there's quite a big community now of ukulele players, certainly online. I'm a member of a group, a ukulele group on the social media network that shan't be mentioned, with 9,000 plus members, and there are many others available too. So anyway, that is a basic oversight of the four main sizes of ukulele available and the differences between them. Hope you found this enjoyable and informative. If you did, then please give a like, and a comment would be nice. And if you haven't already, what would be really, really nice is if you could subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, because there will be other videos coming out. And in the meantime, everybody stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Peace out.